Good morning, it's Sunday. Welcome to the Cauldron. Hi, I'm Monique. Welcome to Book Rich Reviews. Today we're doing the second half of a mini-series called 20 Years of Reading, and I'm very excited to talk about some books that I love very much. Okay, here we go. So last week I spoke about the years from 2000 to 2010, and because technically we are in 2020 and I have not read that many books yet, we're gonna do an extra book from 2010 just because. And it is of course Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean M. Auel, who is a massive book series for me. I read this when I was 13, 14 maybe, but I got offered this quite a lot earlier because I read really fast, and my teacher in high school, I guess, offered it to me. And I don't think necessarily that you should be reading this when you're this young, because there are some tough aspects, especially in the first book. This is a historical fiction book which follows Ayla, who is a prehistoric woman, and it's real long. There's even a new book which came out a couple of years ago, and I haven't read it yet because what if it ruins everything? And I have a problem with that. I will finish a series and I will love it and I will cherish it, and then in the next moment they will be like, there's coming a new book, and I'm like, I can't read that. What if they ruin everything? But yeah, this is my little extra book, and let's jump into 2011, which is the year that I went to university. It is the year where I returned to this mud. This is G.A. Aiken, who also writes as Shelly Laurenston, which I believe is her actual name. G.A. Aiken is her pen name. This is her newest release, The Blacksmith Queen, which I did enjoy, but this was not what I read in 2011 because it only came out last year. But all of her other books are on ebook because at that point I was in university and you don't have that much space there. I was reading all of her shifter books. There are so many, and I'm just they're all so good. They're all smutty, but they're also all ooh, fantasy, a lot of crime, and a lot of kick-ass women who are take no shit, take no prisoners, and will murder you in your sleep if you annoy them, which is basically what I want in a woman. Just saying. Okay, so next up, 2012, I was on Tumblr. And I don't actually remember if this book was written in 2012. It was, okay. And I'm of course talking about one of the only series that are on this list that everyone else was also talking about at that point. And it is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I am Sarah J. Maas trash, okay? I love everything. I especially love Vernon. I'm really excited about her new book, Crescent City, or House of Earth and Blood, I think it is. Anyway, Throne of Glass. The series is just I know it's a booktube favorite. There are the haters and there are the lovers, and I am a firm lover, and I entire series in hardback for Christmas, and I'm so excited about doing a reread, and I'm just this is so good. If you don't know what this book's about, the first book, Throne of Glass, is about Selena, who sort of comes from a very rough background as a assassin's apprentice, so I guess she's actually an assassin, and she gets thrown into prison, and then she gets taken back out of prison to sort of join in on this competition to be the king's assassin. And then we go from there, and there's a roller coaster ride, and there's a lot of love, and then there's a lot of hate, and there's a lot of angsty Monique, and I don't love the first two books as much as I love the rest of it. So Here Fire, that's when Manon comes in, and Manon Blackbeak is the ultimate woman for me. Marry Me, Vernon. 2013 is the year that Monique finds out there's something called backlists. And obviously I know about backlists before, but I found the backlist for one of my favorite authors, who is Anne Bishop. I mentioned her in some of my other videos. I will most likely mention her forever because her and Tamar Pierce are my absolute favorite authors. And this is written in red, and this is a series that I adore, and I don't understand why more people aren't talking about it. It is urban fantasy, but sort of set in a fantasy world, and it's so good. And written in red by Anne Bishop, is about Meg, who is a Cassandra Sog, who is basically a blood prophet, and she has escaped from this terrible place and is now trying to make her way living in the real world, but she doesn't actually understand much about the real world because girls like her are sort of bred in captivity. And it's a really rough book in some instances, and I would definitely check out the trigger warnings before you read it. But it's literally, this series is 5 books long, all of it is out. You should read it right now, and then you should tell me that you've read it so that we can speak about it, because it's so good and I love it so much. And obviously I didn't read just Written in Red that year. I basically read all of her. She has like a ton of series backlist and they are all amazing. She also has the Black Jewel trilogy, which I would suggest and recommend to anyone who has read A Court of Mist and Fury or Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't count the first book, it doesn't exist for me. If you want something that's even higher fantasy, that's in that genre, when I read A Court of Mist and Fury finally, it just reminded me so much of this series. And this is a giant bind up. You can of course also get them in smaller books. There is 700 extra companion novels to the series, so if you want to like really get into it, you should. 2014 we're continuing with smut, or at least like intense fantasy, sci-fi, shifter. I'll be honest, it's shifter romance, and I'm a trash for it. It's of course Nalini Singh. She has the Changeling series, and then she has the Archangel series, which last book just came out last year. This is the Bay Crate edition with a little signed thingamabob, which is very cute. I haven't read it yet because what if it ruins everything? It's gonna be read this year because I love Elena and I love Raphael so much. This series is about a vampire hunter, but vampires aren't like what we think of vampires. Vampires are made by angels in this like fantastic urban fantasy setting, and this series is everything. Our team, the year is 2015, and I have refound my love of sci-fi, and especially because I found Cinder, which is by Marissa Meyer. I only have it on ebook, so I will put it like right here. This series is 4 books long, I believe it. Yeah, it's Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, and Winter. And Winter is my favorite one of the ones, but they are all fairy tale retellings, but sci-fi. So they're set in space. And the first book follows Cinder, who is a cyborg, China setting, and mischief ensues. I don't want to ruin it. That's basically it. It's a retelling of Cinderella, so you can sort of like get like part of the plot, but it's so good, and I would recommend it to anyone. And then 16. We're continuing on my sci-fi adventure, and this is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, and I have heard so many people talk about this series, and they absolutely should because it's absolutely amazing. Becky Chambers is very character driven. It's all high sci-fi, sort of futuristic, but very like the science is very well thought out, and they're all like alien species, but they're not all just like humanoid alien species, which is something that I really don't like. But they're just like, this book is so good, and it sort of follows the crew on the Wayfarer as they sort of take on a mission to make like a high amount of money, but this mission is sort of almost impossible. But this series is so good. There is a few more in the series. I believe I have the second one, but I haven't heard that many good reviews about it. But I do believe there is a third one, and then she has another book out as well, which a ton of booktubers have been talking about, and I really want to read it. I think it's something called like If Miss Fortunate or something like that. I'm going to put the actual name on down below. I'm really bad, okay? I should have checked that up before I started this. But then 2017, and Monique discovers modern poetry. Well, I don't discover it, but I like refine my love for it, because I actually refound my love for modern poetry when I was still in university, so in like 2014. But in 2017, I started gathering more of them, especially Nikita Gill, who is my absolute favorite. She also has a new book that's like mystic retellings, and it's called Great Goddesses, which I have hiding somewhere. It's so beautiful, it's so pretty, and I can't wait to read it. But she also has a ton of other books, so if you're into modern poetry and like feministic poetry, I have so many good ones. So I have like Ashe Vernon, I think Caitlin Sy is back here, Amanda Lovelace is a beautiful one who has written The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one, and we go, Princess Saves Herself in this one. All of these shelves are gonna be fixed. 18, I am living in Brighton. One of my friends for New Year's started this game where you have to buy something for someone else on Amazon for £5 or less, and because they all knew that I was a massive reader, they bought me The Name of the Wind by Rothfuss, which I have not read, even though it is like a classic stable fantasy, and I did read it and I love it. It follows Quote, who is a sort of a pub owner. I don't think they're called pubs in like ancient thingies, but that's what he is. And he is also apparently a hero back in the day, and this first book sort of chronicles his childhood as this bard comes around and then finally finds him and asks him, can I write down your story? And this book is that, and it is so good. And maybe at one point we will get the third book, and maybe that's why I haven't read the second one yet, but I'm going to, because I finally have it, and I liked it. You should read this if you haven't. Last but not least, thank you for sticking with me, team, is my favourite read of 2019, Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. And this is my first Samantha Shannon book. I heard about it because there was like people building up excitement for it on Bookstagram when I started, and I was like, I heard gays and dragons and fantasy, and I was like, up there, I'm ready. This book is so good. It is like the ultimate high fantasy, and I love it. It's like feminist fantasy with queens and dragons and queer people and like everything. Like Samantha Shannon thinks of everything about fantasy. She thinks about what kind of grain do they have, okay, how do they get that grain if they don't grow it, like what does that bread looks like, what are the colors, where did the colors come from if you don't have colors from Turkey. And I know that this is a thick girl, but she is so beautiful and I love her so much. And the paperback just came out, so if you're scared of this giant book, you can get it in a smaller copy, and I'm pretty sure you could still hit someone over the head with it if they are like homophobic. Got through another 10 years. Thank you for sticking with me today. If you like this, give this a big thumbs up, and you can hit the subscribe button at the same time. I hope to have videos out at least once a week, if not twice. And I'm really excited about 2020, and you should be excited too, because next up is going to be some sort of shelf fixing, because this looks like a mess, and I'm excited about making it not look like a mess. Alright, that's it, team. Thanks for sticking with me. Bye! When you publish this, people are going to be like, why does it sound the same? And I'm going to be like, I wrote it 10 years ago. Give me some credit. Give me some, like, calm down time.